For 10 years, my life was inextricably linked with Khloe Vance's, a reality that made me the running joke among our entire social circle. They called me her eternal backup, the guy who was always there. I once overheard her telling a friend that the nanny's son was fun to play with, but marriage? Not a chance. I was standing just outside the door at that moment, unseen. I remember clenching my fists so tightly my knuckles went white, my eyes burning red with a shame so profound it felt like a physical blow. Without a word, I turned and walked away from that life. On that very same day, I made a decision that would change everything. I found someone else, and the next day, we were married. A day later, I stood before the heavy oak door of her office and knocked. "Khloe, I want to resign." My voice, deeper than usual, cut through the quiet, rarefied air of the office. Hearing me, Khloe, who had been engrossed in a stack of files, paused her movements. She lifted her eyes just slightly, her expression unreadable, her tone as indifferent as if I were commenting on the weather. "Why?" "I got married," I stated, the words feeling both foreign and liberating on my tongue. "I have new plans for my future, and it no longer feels appropriate for me to remain by your side." My voice was steady and sincere, but to Khloe it must have sounded like the setup to an elaborate joke. "Married?" she repeated, a hint of amusement coloring the word. "When did this happen? What about the wedding?" The 3 rapid-fire questions hung in the air, stretching the silence in the office to an uncomfortable length. I looked down at the plush carpet for a moment, before forcing myself to meet her skeptical gaze. "My wife had to leave the country for an urgent matter. We'll hold the wedding ceremony when she returns." Hearing me use the word wife, a slow, intriguing smile spread across Khloe's lips. It was a smile I knew well, one that usually preceded a cutting remark. "Wife? Who did you marry?" The suppressed mockery in her voice was unmistakable, and it stopped me from blurting out a name. Although Clara had seemed warm and genuinely kind when we'd gotten our marriage license the day before, the entire affair had happened so quickly, in such a whirlwind of desperation and impulse, that I wasn't entirely sure if she would want our union made public just yet. I chose to remain silent. My prolonged silence seemed to confirm her suspicions. She was convinced that my talk of resignation and marriage was nothing more than a desperate performance, a clumsy attempt to grab her attention now that I'd heard Alex was back in town. Under normal circumstances, she might have played along with my little game, but at that moment she clearly had neither the mood nor the time to indulge in what she perceived as my drama. Her phone rang, shattering the tense atmosphere. She picked it up, and the cold mask of her expression instantly melted away, replaced by a softness I hadn't seen directed at me in years. "Alex, I'll be right there." In the next second, she had grabbed her coat from the back of her chair. As she swept past me, she tossed a casual remark over her shoulder. "If you want to resign, just go through the proper channels." Before she had even finished the sentence, she was out the door and gone from sight. Did that mean she approved? If all I had to do was follow the standard process, it meant I only needed to stay for another month to handle the handover, and then I could leave this life for good. A wave of relief washed over me, and the tension that had been coiled in my body for what felt like an eternity finally began to relax. I could hardly believe it had been so smooth, so anticlimactic. With my head lowered, my mind a chaotic mess of swirling memories, I walked back to the assistant's office. At 16 years old, I had moved from the quiet countryside to the sprawling metropolis of J City. I came to live with my mother, who had been a dedicated nanny for the Vance family for decades. They were kind in their own distant way. They arranged for me to attend a good school, allowing me to go with Khloe. At that tender age, my heart was just beginning to stir with new and confusing emotions. Khloe was slender and graceful, with a face that could captivate anyone, and I, unable to resist, fell for her completely. But I was acutely aware of the vast, unbridgeable chasm between our worlds, so I never dared to approach her, content to worship her from afar. That all changed one night when a drunken Khloe stumbled into my small room by mistake. We spent the night together, a blur of whispered words and trembling touches. The next morning, as she stood with her back to me, zipping up her dress, she asked nonchalantly, "You blush every time you see me? Do you like me?" My secret, cherished crush was suddenly exposed, flooding me with a mixture of anxiety and a terrifying flicker of hope. She turned then, a slight, knowing smile on her lips. "Last night I went into the wrong room. Tonight, do you want to go to the wrong room?" In my naivete, I mistakenly took this as her acceptance of me. My eyes widened, and a profound joy spread through my chest like flowers blooming in fast motion. Our clandestine relationship held on like that, night after night, in hidden corners all over the grand house. This ridiculous, undefined affair lasted for 10 long years, yet she never once gave me an official status, never acknowledged me as anything more than a secret. Still, I hoped. I dreamed that one day she would finally declare it, give me a name, a place by her side. That hope was finally and brutally extinguished yesterday. Khloe had suddenly texted me about attending a welcome home party, telling me to dress nicely. We had been together for so long, and while she often couldn't seem to go a night without me, she almost never brought me to public events like this. Hearing her instructions, I subconsciously thought this was it. She was finally ready to make our relationship public. My heart swelled with excitement as I happily made my way to the venue. The taxi stopped in the underground garage, and just as I was about to unbuckle my seatbelt, a familiar voice drifted from the sleek sports car parked next to us. It was one of Khloe's closest friends, her tone dripping with dismissal. "Khloe, bringing Leo to this kind of event? Is that really appropriate? If people find out about his background, who knows how they'll laugh?" "Yeah," another voice chimed in. "The nanny's son, it really devalues the event." Khloe's voice was mild when she replied, but I knew her well enough to hear the underlying mockery. "If Alex can date such a cheap girl, why can't I bring a devalued guy to a party?" Each word was a dagger twisting in my heart. I froze in the back of the cab, my lips trembling. The people in the nearby car, oblivious to my presence, kept chatting. "Ha ha ha, Khloe, if Leo heard you say that, wouldn't he be heartbroken?" "Aren't you afraid he'll leave you?" "With his background, where could he possibly find anything better? Without me, he probably wouldn't even survive." These light, careless words were followed by a wave of laughter, a sound so hurtful it felt like it was crushing my fragile pride into dust. All interest I had in this so-called party vanished. I texted Khloe, telling her I wasn't feeling well and couldn't make it, then hurriedly left the garage. By the time I came to my senses, I realized I had unconsciously directed the taxi back to the Vance estate. There, I sought out a long-time staff member and quickly learned the full history of Khloe and the boy named Alex. It turned out they were childhood sweethearts, having grown up inseparable. In school, Khloe had never accepted any love letters because she already had someone she liked. But before she could confess her feelings, Alex started dating someone the Vances deemed unsuitable. He resisted his family's disapproval and eventually left the country with his girlfriend. Khloe never forgot him, longing for Alex for years, remaining single, always waiting for his return. Hearing all this, a profound numbness settled over me. Those feelings that had haunted me for so long, my confusion over Khloe, who was like a shining, unattainable star in my sky, finally made sense with the introduction of the name Alex. I finally understood why she had kept me in a confusing, nameless relationship for 10 years. It was because Alex had chosen a woman from a poor background. So, out of spite, she had settled for someone she considered just as cheap. Me. When daylight finally came, my tears had dried up, and the last flicker of hope in my heart was gone, completely extinguished. I pulled a business card from my wallet. The card belonged to a woman named Clara. Years ago, my mother had saved Clara's life, pushing her out of the way of an out-of-control car. Out of immense gratitude, Clara had given my mother this card, promising her help if she ever needed it. Not long after, my mother passed away, giving the card to me on her deathbed. Now, facing what felt like an unsolvable problem, I decided to call the number. I made an unusual, desperate request. I asked Clara to marry me. To my astonishment, she didn't hesitate and agreed. That very afternoon, we headed to City Hall and got our marriage certificate. Afterward, Clara mentioned she needed to go abroad for business and that we would have to wait a month to hold the wedding ceremony. I only wanted to use this marriage as a final, clean break from Khloe. I didn't care about a wedding, so I readily agreed. Holding the freshly printed marriage certificate in my hands, the situation felt completely surreal. I was married, but mostly what I felt was an overwhelming sense of relief. I could finally, truly let go of Khloe for good. Alex, who had been abroad for years, had suddenly returned, apparently because he had broken up with his longtime girlfriend. Back then, he had rebelled against his family for her, but their different backgrounds had proven to be too much of a barrier in the end. His sudden return caught many off guard, leaving him unprepared for a lot of things. When Khloe heard, she immediately dragged me along to help him get settled. Although I wasn't keen to go, I was technically still under Khloe's employment during my notice period, so I had no valid excuse to refuse. On the way there, Khloe kept giving me instructions, telling me to be sharp, and to notice what Alex might be missing. I nodded along numbly, then spent the rest of the day running around to get things done. After buying everything he needed, a tired me followed them, listening to them reminisce about their shared past. Khloe, remember how for every birthday you'd have my favorite cake flown in from Europe? I haven't had anyone do that for me during all these years abroad. The flown-in cake. I had received one of those, too, a gesture that had made me happy for a while. I never understood the reason for such an extravagant gift, but now I knew. Those cakes were for Alex's birthday. And every time we went out, you'd take me to that little eatery. I wonder if it's still open after all these years. It hadn't closed. I quietly answered in my heart. I had been there just 2 months ago with Khloe. She always ordered 2 servings of their Black Forest cake. That must have been because Alex liked it. As the 3 of us walked, Khloe and Alex dug up one old memory after another. And for each one, I could find a parallel in my own memory. Only today did I realize that all of Khloe's seeming care and concern for me were just her way of reminiscing about Alex. I watched the 2 of them, their backs perfectly in sync, and kept my composure while busying myself with tasks. The once empty apartment was now packed with all the essentials for living, eating, and entertainment, thanks to half a day's work. Alex was pleased with my efficiency, looking at me with genuine praise. Talking with Khloe for so long, I almost forgot to ask, "Who is this?" Before I could reply, Khloe cut in. "He's the son of a longtime housekeeper for the Vances. I brought him along all these years, and when his mother passed away a few years back, he stayed on. He's part of the family now, working as my assistant." A hint of surprise flashed in Alex's eyes, but it was quickly replaced by a look of polite normality. Khloe really has a kind heart, keeping old ties. Khloe looked at him, her tone charged with a deeper meaning. "Yes, I hold on to old ties, and I remember old flames too, Alex." Alex paused at that, not continuing the conversation. Nearby, I caught the exchange, lowering my gaze. Loved ones can be overseas for years, yet you'll still hold on to fond memories when reunited. Khloe certainly remembered her old flame. Passing a small flower garden, I casually fixed a leaning branch. Just then, Alex turned his head and noticed the ring on my finger. "Hey, Leo, I've seen that ring before. It's pricey. I guess the assistant gig pays well," he remarked. My eyes followed his gaze to the glowing ring on my hand. I was momentarily lost in thought. Clara had given it to me before she left, saying the wedding might be postponed, but the gesture couldn't be missed. I had never known much about the jewelry's worth, assuming it was something she had picked up at the last minute. "It's really valuable?" I wondered aloud. Even Khloe glanced at it and frowned slightly. "Nice ring," Alex noted. "Just on the wrong finger. That's the spot for a wedding band." I shook my head, managing a small smile. "No mistake, it's a wedding band." "A wedding band? You're married?" Alex's face showed genuine surprise. I nodded softly. "Yeah, just a few days ago." Khloe's expression darkened immediately. She stared at me for a long moment, looking like she wanted to say something but couldn't bring herself to. As we finished up and the night fell, Alex walked us to the garage. During their goodbyes, he threw in a few more compliments about me. "Khloe, you're on top of things like nobody's business. I'm still trying to get my bearings back, and if it's cool with you, could you give me his contact info? I might need to reach out for some help." He asked her for a favor, so Khloe couldn't say no. "Of course, what's mine is yours. I'll text you his contact info. Just direct him if you need anything." Driving home, I kept quiet. Khloe instinctively thought I was mad about what had happened earlier. She was about to ask when her gaze shifted and caught sight of that ring again, which brought back her suppressed frustration. "Marriage, wedding rings. If you're going to half-ass things with me, fine, but there's no need to put on a show for Alex." My grip on the steering wheel tightened slightly, but I decided to clarify. "No, it really is a wedding ring." My eyes avoided hers as I said it, which only made Khloe think I was feeling guilty. She didn't bother wasting any more breath arguing. She just laid it all out there. "Alex is different from everyone else to me, so you had better keep your little tricks to yourself and stick to your duties. Don't you dare try anything with him." Her tone was laced with a clear, sharp warning. My eyes narrowed and my lips pressed into a tight line, but I said nothing. In the past, seeing her care so much about Alex might have stirred up some jealousy. But I'm not the type to stir up trouble, and I certainly wouldn't mess with someone she loves. Now that I was married, I couldn't care less who she liked or disliked. After 10 years of knowing each other, it surprised me that she would think of me this way. A hint of helplessness crossed my mind as I let out a barely audible sigh. After they added each other as contacts, Alex frequently pinged me for favors. Lost passport? Get Leo to handle it. Missing something at home? Call Leo. Want to see a play? Leo snagged the tickets. I juggled these odds and ends with my company work, running myself ragged. A few times I tactfully suggested to Khloe that she hire a professional assistant for Alex, but she didn't seem interested. I knew it wasn't about the money. She just wanted to hammer home how much Alex meant to her, rubbing it in my face. But that really wasn't necessary. I saw the truth clearly, so much so that I had already left it alone and moved on from her. Running around for over a week left me so hectic I practically forgot about Clara. So when she called, it caught me completely off guard. Her voice was as gentle as I remembered. "Are you busy? Sorry to bother you today. I just wanted to see how you'd feel about having the wedding over at the Bay." "A wedding at the Bay?" I repeated without realizing. Just as I said it, the assistant's office door swung open. Khloe walked in, her eyes locked on me with a cold glare. "Wedding? What wedding?" I was so startled that I hung up the phone abruptly and stood up. My wedding. Before walking in, Khloe had already started to grow suspicious. But when she saw me hang up in such a fluster, her skepticism rose even more, making her scoff. So, you're still sticking to this marriage story? Given we've known each other for 10 years, why haven't I gotten an invitation? Seems kind of off, doesn't it? Invitation. As a first-time groom, I hadn't even thought about that. After a pause, I met her gaze and spoke coolly. The invitations aren't ready yet, but once they are, I'll make sure you get one. With no wedding clothes and no invites ready yet, hearing my response, Khloe couldn't help but find it amusing. She didn't call me out on the perceived lie, just nodded non-committally. All right then, I'll wait. On a rare weekend off, I wasn't idle. I was prepping stuff to toss out. With a box in hand, I ran into Khloe on her way home. Catching her cryptic look, I put the box down and explained. Khloe, I'm planning to move out after I get married. Thanks for looking out for me all these years. A flicker of annoyance crossed Khloe's face, her tone snappier than usual. Bringing up marriage all the time. What, are you scared I'll forget? Anyway, it's my place here, so it's your call if you want to move. From her voice, I sensed she was in a rough mood, so I held back any more words and simply listened as she continued. I'm off next week. I'm taking Alex to Y City for a vacation. Could you prepare a travel plan and see everything through? Alex has OCD, so swap the hotel stuff out for new items and make sure everything is sanitized. Start the day after 3 p.m., since he's jet-lagged. You also have to vet the people joining us. He's not into chatterboxes. From hotels to personnel, from weather to personal preferences, Khloe rambled on for over half an hour, meticulous in every single detail. In the entire decade I had known her, I had never seen her put so much effort into someone else's comfort. Looking at the 40-minute recording of her instructions on my phone, I sighed deeply as memories of the past bubbled to the surface. Y City, famous for its breathtaking beauty, was a destination I had longed to visit. Before Alex returned, I had brought it up to Khloe, even making it my birthday wish. But no matter how much I pleaded, she never agreed, always insisting that work was too busy and there was no time for fun, leaving me crestfallen for quite a while. Who would have thought that the perpetually work-driven Khloe would go to such extremes just to ensure Alex's joy? Truly, old friends and new clothes aren't the same. I didn't feel hurt, just thoughtful, and a bit resigned. I agreed to her request, tossed the trash, and got right on planning for the following week. Free of constant calls, I finally enjoyed some downtime. Alex sent tons of vacation pictures, scenery, food, selfies, group photos, capturing everything. Whenever they popped up on my feed, I would check them out, not out of snooping, but just to indulge my own wanderlust. One day, Clara's secretary unexpectedly texted about checking out the wedding house. With nothing pressing on my schedule, I agreed and tagged along to the villa area over at the mountain. After we had seen 2 villas, some work emergency popped up, sending the secretary away. I wandered around by myself for a bit, but found it pretty dull, so I decided to head back. Just as I reached the entrance of the development, I heard 2 familiar voices coming from outside a nearby villa. Khloe, why'd you suddenly decide to give me a house? It was Alex. You love painting, right? It's near the mountains here. When you feel like going out to get some inspiration, it's nice to have a place to rest. Alex couldn't refuse after hearing how thoughtful she was being. Khloe, you're always so considerate. You're really good to me, like a sister. When Khloe heard the word sister, a flicker of sadness flashed in her eyes. She turned her head slightly to hide her feelings and forced a smile. If you recognize how good your sister is, then let's not be upset over those women who aren't worth it, okay? Halfway through her sentence, Khloe saw me walking over from the next property. Her tone shifted immediately, becoming sharp and accusatory. "What are you doing here? Stalking me again?" I hadn't expected to run into her here and hurried to explain. "No, Khloe. I'm just here to check out a house." "A house? Here, Leo?" Billy looked baffled, and Khloe found the idea utterly ridiculous, her lips curving upwards slightly. "Check out a house for what?" "A wedding house." With both pairs of eyes on me, I was at a loss for words. But it was the truth. I was there to see a house. So, after a moment's hesitation, I nodded. Alex glanced at the grand house nearby, then at the wedding ring on my hand, looking even more surprised. "What's your wife's name?" I didn't want to drag Clara into the mess with Khloe. After a moment of silence, I didn't say anything. Seeing that I couldn't come up with a name, Khloe's frosty demeanor inexplicably softened a bit. Still, she couldn't stand my act of being addicted to pretending to be married. "Since Leo is here to buy a house, you must have already seen enough. So call your wife and close the deal. Otherwise, I will." She looked me straight in the eye, emphasizing the word wife heavily. This villa was indeed nice, and the secretary had said it was the type Clara liked. I was planning to settle on it anyway. Knowing Khloe's personality, if she said she'd do something, she definitely would. After a brief hesitation, I took out my phone and dialed the number marked as my wife. Even after a minute of ringing, no one picked up. As the seconds ticked by, Khloe's patience was wearing thin. Seeing me still holding up the phone, pretending, a flare of unexplainable anger rose in her chest. Just as she was about to speak, a car suddenly drove straight toward the three of us. "Watch out!" Without thinking, she pulled Alex to safety. By the time I realized the danger and tried to dodge, it was too late. I was hit and rolled to the ground. The accident left Alex terrified, his eyes losing focus. Khloe was worried about him, so she ignored settling scores with me and drove off with Alex. I rolled about 30 feet. My lower leg badly scraped, the pink flesh showing through the torn fabric of my pants. It hurt so much my eyes reddened with tears. When I managed to sit up, Khloe's car brushed past me. She was entirely focused on Alex and didn't even glance at me, badly injured on the side of the road. Dust kicked up by her tires hit me in the face, making me cough uncontrollably, the redness in my eyes deepening. Once I calmed down a bit, my phone, lying nearby, buzzed. It was Clara's voice. "Leo, what's going on?" Hearing her voice, I quickly picked up the phone and lied to keep her from worrying. "Oh, nothing. It's just my throat's a little sore, don't worry. I wanted to tell you that I found us a wedding house. The price might be a bit high. Want to see some photos?" A gentle voice came through the line. "No need for photos. If you like it, I like it. Price isn't an issue. I trust you, Leo. You can make these decisions." Barely escaping with my life, and then being left behind like trash, Clara's gentle reassurances felt like a pebble tossed into the turbulent waters of my heart, creating ripples of warmth. My voice softened as I replied with a smile, despite the throbbing pain. "Then let's go with this one." Clara agreed, and not wanting to disturb her work, I didn't press further. Just as I was about to hang up, her voice breezed through like a gentle spring wind. "Leo, we're a couple now. No matter what happens, you need to tell me, all right?" Moved by her concern, I paused and softly murmured in agreement. Then I limped my way to the hospital alone, tears trickling down my face as I recalled her words. They were tears of pain, but also of a newfound warmth. The injury wasn't exactly minor, and it ended with me needing dozens of stitches. After taking several days to recover at the hospital, I returned to work. After wrapping up the meeting plan for 2 days later, my secretary knocked and entered, visibly anxious. Leo, do you know where Khloe is? We can't reach her, yet X Corporation is pressing for the contract. They need it today. What should we do? Fully aware of how crucial the X project was, I had been involved throughout its development. I didn't want my team's efforts to go to waste. I took the file she offered, said I would try, and left. I hailed a cab and checked Alex's social media, giving the driver the address of a hot spring resort Alex had posted about an hour ago. Along the way, I tried calling Khloe a few times, but she didn't pick up, making me even more anxious. When I finally arrived, I found Alex and Khloe having afternoon tea. The moment she spotted me, the smile vanished from her face. "What are you here for?" I knew I was interrupting her good mood, but business was business. I calmly explained the situation. Hearing it was work-related, Alex stood up immediately. "Khloe, if you have to attend to work, let's head back." Khloe had spent forever convincing Alex to go on this date, and now I had messed it all up. She was furious. "Didn't I tell you? Even if the sky is falling, as long as Alex and I are together, don't bother us," she scolded. Then, in a fit of rage, she flipped the small table, shot me a cold glare, and ran after Alex. Hot coffee spilled all over my recently stitched wound, making me suck in a sharp breath. I watched her leave, a bitter smile playing on my lips. The truth is, she never told me that. If I had known how important Alex was to her, I wouldn't have wasted years on her. I wouldn't have turned down all those other offers just to stay by her side as an assistant. Lost in thought, I limped to the roadside. The cab that was parked there before had vanished. The resort's shuttle buses had also left for the day. It was obvious Khloe had done this on purpose as payback. Sighing, I accepted my fate and started the long walk down the mountain, in dress shoes and all. After 10 kilometers, I got home just as the sun was setting. My leg injuries hadn't healed, and I was in constant pain, stumbling several times in the dark. Caked in mud, my leg blistered and bleeding. Every step felt like walking on razor blades. I took off my shoes and limped into the living room, planning to clean up. But suddenly, a cold laugh hit me. "You found it fun to interrupt me and Alex, didn't you?" I looked up to meet Khloe's furious eyes. Straightening up, I lowered my head respectfully. "Khloe, I really only came to deliver the documents. I didn't know Alex meant so much to you. I'm sorry." I handed her the signed document I had carried around all day. Khloe took it with a blank expression, then ripped it to shreds right in front of me. She threw the plastic cover at my face. "There's no room for schemers here. If this happens again, pack your bags and leave." With that, she slammed the door as she left. Staring at the shredded paper scattered on the floor, I leaned against the coffee table and squatted down, wincing as I wiped the fresh blood from my leg. I chuckled weakly. Next time? There wouldn't be a next time. In 10 days, I would really be packing up and leaving. The next morning, a secretary brought me a document. I flipped through it quickly. It was a notice of discipline, docking my half-year salary and bonus. On top of that, the secretary relayed a new company rule. Whenever Khloe and Alex were together, no one was to disturb them, using me as the cautionary tale. I just signed the notice without argument, grabbed my coffee mug, and headed to the break room. The new rule was the hot topic at work, with everyone gossiping about Khloe and Alex. Some folks dug up old stories to spread around. "Did you hear? The Y project was all for Alex's love of skiing. Khloe just bought it up for him. That antique tea set Khloe had me photograph? It's with Alex. I saw it on the news." I quietly listened, but didn't join in, focusing on my coffee. A few coworkers who knew I'd been slighted offered some comfort. "Leo, you were innocent in all this. Everyone thinks you're catching strays. Maybe you should apologize to Khloe. See if things can be salvaged." I shook my head, feeling oddly cheerful. "I'm leaving soon anyway. I wasn't going to get that money either way, so why bother?" Hearing this, everyone gathered around, curious. "You're really leaving? We thought you were just kidding." "Will Khloe allow it? You've been with her for years." "Yeah, she's not going to try to keep you?" I smiled, meeting their eyes with sincerity. "For real. 9 days and I'm out. See you all around." Word spread, and many colleagues stopped by my desk to say their goodbyes over the next week. Luckily, Khloe was busy with Alex, staying out of the office, and hadn't been in touch. Enjoying the calm, I slowly wrapped up my final projects. 2 days before my last day, I got home to unexpectedly receive a call from Alex. "Leo, you available? Can you bring some stomach meds to my place? Khloe's got a bad stomachache." Grabbing the meds, I headed to the Vance estate quickly. Alex took the pills, pulled out 2, and, as if to feed them to Khloe, lifted the water glass. Khloe, unused to this sudden intimacy, glanced instinctively at me. Seeing my impassive face, Khloe realized her reaction was odd. She looked away and quickly swallowed the meds. Once she swallowed, Alex put down the glass, patted a pillow behind her neck, then turned to me. "I thought Khloe was healthy. How'd she get a stomach problem?" I glanced at Khloe, who was looking down, and finally explained in a plain, simple tone, "Since you left the country, Khloe has been drinking heavily, getting drunk at least 4 or 5 times a month. Her stomach's gotten bad. She won't see a doctor about it, and it's—" Before I could finish, Khloe looked up suddenly, as if shocked I'd undermine her in front of him. "Running your mouth, aren't you? You've delivered the medicine, now leave." Something I said seemed to have pissed her off again, but I wasn't about to dwell on it. With a slight nod, I turned to leave the villa. As I stepped out of the elevator, I heard hushed voices in the garage. I tiptoed closer to find the driver chatting with one of the staff. "Been spending every day with young Master Alex, our Khloe has. Sounds like something big's coming up, huh?" "No way. Alex's girlfriend just broke up with him not too long ago. I saw him with teary eyes a couple of days ago. Can he really move on this quickly?" "You don't get it. Heartbreak. You always get over it eventually. With someone as great as our Khloe, who's so into him, it's just a matter of time before he falls for her." Listening to their chat, for some reason, I felt a sense of relief and smiled. Yes, Khloe waited for Alex for 12 years. Someone as devoted as her will eventually get what she wants, right? But it's got nothing to do with me anymore. I was about to start a new chapter in my life. The day before I was due to leave, Khloe still hadn't come back. I followed Clara's assistant to the bridal shop and picked out a wedding dress. I really liked it. It suited Clara perfectly. Back at the house, I went through everything related to Khloe and either burned it or tossed it all away. Looking at the now empty room I had lived in for 10 years, I turned off the lights and peacefully drifted to sleep. On my day of departure, my alarm went off at 8. I rubbed my eyes, got up, freshened up, and went to the office to finish my resignation process. After getting home, I packed the last of my things into boxes and closed the door to my room for the last time. The housekeeper mentioned that Khloe had returned. I figured I should say a proper goodbye, so I dragged my suitcase to her bedroom and knocked gently. A minute later, the door opened. Khloe peeked out, asking coldly what I wanted. Before I could say the words I had prepared, she caught a glimpse of my luggage and smirked. "You're not going to tell me you're moving out to get married and live in a new house, are you?" I could hear the thick sarcasm in her voice, but still answered truthfully. "Yes, I'm getting married tomorrow and moving out. I just wanted to let you know. If you're free, you and Alex are invited to the wedding. I'll even save a bouquet for him." Watching me act so convincingly, Khloe almost wanted to commend my performance. Just as she was about to speak, her phone chimed with messages from Alex. She read them while grabbing a coat and heading out. Just before leaving, she turned back to face me with her usual haughty tone. "Leo, my patience is running thin. This is the last time. Stop acting." Seeing her walk away without looking back, I smiled calmly. "Khloe, I'm not acting. I really am getting married tomorrow. And for real this time, I'm leaving." After saying this, I gave one last look around the house filled with a decade of complicated memories. 10 years. Khloe and I had been entangled for 10 whole years. "Khloe," I thought, "one day you'll realize that the man you think is worthless might just be someone else's treasure." After that thought, I took out my phone and sent Clara a text. "Clara, tomorrow's the wedding. Have you made it back to the country?" A reply came almost immediately with a ding. "Landed at the airport. We'll make it to the wedding on time. Leo, let's look after each other for the rest of our lives." Feeling a sense of home after reading her reply, I smiled gently, picked up my suitcase, and turned around. Step by step, I walked away from Khloe and the Vances. I left decisively, not looking back once. The next day, Khloe went to work as usual, expecting me to make her coffee, only to be told by her new secretary that I had completed my resignation. In a fit of rage, she nearly destroyed the entire floor of her office suite. She couldn't believe that while she had been busy with Alex for the past month, I had actually gone through with it and resigned. After tearing my resignation letter into pieces out of sheer frustration, she headed back to the old house, determined to confront me. As soon as she reached the door, the housekeeper approached and informed her that I had moved out the day before. Hearing this, Khloe, enraged, dialed my number with a cold expression. Once it connected, she didn't give me a chance to speak, immediately reprimanding me. "Leo, you're taking this fake marriage act way too far. If you really want to leave, then don't ever come back." Facing her wrath, I remained unusually calm, my voice steady as if I were giving a final report. "Khloe, I'm not coming back, don't worry. And I didn't lie to you. I'm actually getting married today." Just then, the housekeeper remembered something and handed Khloe an invitation. "Khloe, Leo left this yesterday. He wanted me to give this to you today." Seeing the gold-embossed words, "We're getting married," on the front, Khloe's face flushed with anger. She snatched the invitation and tossed it to her driver, instructing him to take her to the wedding venue immediately. On the drive over, her mind was a chaotic mess. Replaying the scene of me with my suitcase, her expression dark enough to drip water. Once parked, she hurriedly climbed out and headed for the elevators. Stepping out, she saw the grand hall, filled with tables set for a feast and flowers everywhere. Her heart sank. Several receptionists approached to greet her, and she demanded to be taken backstage. Seeing me in a white tux before her only made her angrier. She glanced around, not spotting a bride, while the clock showed it was only 10 minutes until the ceremony. Realizing something was amiss, she took the invitation from her driver, and upon reading the name Clara Miller as the bride, her sanity returned. "Clara? Your bride is Clara Miller?" Khloe eyed me, mocking laughter in her tone. Hearing the name, the few people accompanying her chuckled. "The Miller family heiress? No way she'd marry a housekeeper's son like you. Ridiculous." With the Miller family's stature, Leo wouldn't even qualify as a fling. Hearing their laughter, Khloe was further convinced it was all an elaborate act. At this point, she didn't bother arguing, and, in a rare moment of patience, spoke to me. "I won't hold you accountable for any of your past issues. Just come back with me willingly." I calmly adjusted my cufflinks. "Thank you for being so generous, Khloe, but I'm sorry. Today is my wedding, and I don't plan on going back." Khloe had never been turned down so firmly before. Seeing my resolute expression, her anger flared up, and she knocked over the champagne tower nearby. Just as she was about to unleash her long-held reprimands, her phone rang unexpectedly. She hesitated, debating whether to answer it or to finish her tirade, when I spoke up beside her. "Alex is calling. Are you sure you still want to stay here?" Khloe was still convinced this was all a farce, certain that there was no bride today. She lifted her chin, giving me a sideways glance with an icy tone. Of course I'm not staying. Alex is way more important than you. Go ahead with your wedding. I want to see who will show up to marry you. With that, she turned on her heel and strode out of the wedding venue. I didn't say another word, simply watching her leave. Then, I headed to the front room. A server quietly approached me. Mr. Leo, the lady has left with a few friends. Is it time to start the wedding now? Just as he finished speaking, the clock struck 12, and the wedding march began to play, right on time. Outside, there was the sound of cars starting up. In the next moment, the tightly closed doors to the hall opened. Wearing a stunning white wedding dress, Clara pushed open the doors amid the eager gazes in the hall. Arranging her bouquet, she walked directly to me, smiling up at me. Sorry I'm late. Perfect timing. Not late at all. Listening to my gentle reassurance, Clara's smile deepened. She extended a hand, her eyes full of warmth and determination. Shall we? I nodded, taking her hand in mine. Amid cheers and blessings from all around, we slowly walked down the aisle. Outside, fireworks boomed, and white rose petals gently drifted down from above. Cameras flashed continually. To me, everything except Clara felt unfamiliar. Truthfully, I didn't even know her that well. The whole experience felt like a surreal dream, leaving me feeling a bit dazed. The officiant handled the ceremony seamlessly, quickly reaching the ring exchange part. When Clara lifted my hand and gently placed the ring on my finger, I finally felt that I was the star of this wedding. Ever since my mom passed away 3 years ago, I hadn't had any family left in the world. No family, no home, just living on at the Vance estate. After today, I wouldn't be alone. Now I had a new family and brand new relatives. As for the future, I wasn't sure. I looked down at the ring on my hand, praying silently in my heart. Let today be the beginning of tomorrow, not the end of yesterday. Seeing me lost in thought, Clara held my hand tightly. The warmth from her palm passed through my skin. I instinctively lifted my gaze, meeting her eyes, which were as soft as spring water. With the ceremony concluded, the crowd urged for a kiss. Though we'd talked for over a month, we'd only met in person twice, so hearing the crowd's goading made me a little nervous, and I blushed. Clara, however, remained composed. She leaned down and softly asked, "Is it okay?" The gesture caught me off guard, and I was even more surprised by her polite question. Clara noticed my expression and could sense my feelings. Smiling, she lifted her hand, indicating that a gentle kiss on the back of her hand would suffice. The soft touch, with a hint of a floral fragrance, left me briefly stunned. The noise in the crowd didn't quiet down. Instead, it only grew louder. A touch of helplessness flashed across Clara's face as she turned to prompt the officiant for the next part of the ceremony. Unexpectedly, I pulled her into a hug and wrapped my arm around her waist. Our warm breaths mingled closely, blurring the line between us. In her surprised gaze, I decided to go for it and kissed her on the lips. Thunderous applause erupted from below, while reporters who had managed to sneak in captured the moment with their cameras. 5 minutes later, the headline, "M Group CEO Gets Married. Clara Miller Ties the Knot," accompanied by several fresh photos, made the top news. This bombshell revelation instantly sparked widespread discussion. On the way back, Khloe's friend Sandy was scrolling through her phone out of boredom and unintentionally read the headline aloud. M Group CEO got married. Clara Miller got married. Initially, no one in the car paid much attention to the casual remark, until the driver murmured, "What a coincidence. Leo's bride is also named Clara. That's when everyone realized. Sandy zoomed in on the picture, and upon seeing the bride's face clearly, her eyes widened. She hopped over from the back row to the middle, shoving the phone in Khloe's face, speaking rapidly. "Khloe, look! The guy Clara Miller married. Doesn't he look like Leo?" The man in the photo, from his suit to his hairstyle, was identical to the Leo they had seen just half an hour ago. Khloe's previous disbelief vanished upon seeing the photo, replaced by utter shock. She snatched the phone, swiping frantically through the pictures. When she got to the kissing photo, her mind felt like it was about to explode, overwhelmed by an unprecedented panic. Trembling, she pulled out her phone, trying to call me over and over, but no one answered. A nameless fury spread wildly in her mind, quickly eroding her rationality. The endless ringing made her lose control, and she smashed her phone against the car seat, gritting her teeth and demanding the driver to turn back. Her friends sitting nearby were too scared to speak. Finally, Sandy mustered her courage to remind her softly, "Khloe, Alex is still waiting for you." "Turn back!" A loud yell startled the driver, making him shiver. Forgetting all about traffic rules, he made a 180-degree turn right there on the road and headed straight back to the Bay Hotel. The sports car pulled up at the hotel once more. Khloe slammed the door open and didn't have the patience to wait for the elevator, so she ran up the stairs. Inside the hall, the wedding ceremony had just ended, and we were now in the middle of the toasting segment. I had changed into traditional Chinese attire, following Clara around and meeting her friends and family. In the midst of toasting, hotel security chased someone into the hall, drawing everyone's attention. With all eyes on her, Khloe barged in without hesitation and grabbed my hand, attempting to pull me away. Seeing her return, I was shocked. I instinctively steadied myself, trying to shake free from her grip, but her hold was too strong. As we struggled, I lost my balance and fell to the ground. Clara quickly knelt down to help me up and frowned deeply when she saw the red marks forming on my calf. Once I was back on my feet, Khloe tried to drag me away again. Clara stepped forward and shielded me, her usually warm and gentle face now cold as ice, her eyes freezing as she looked at the unwelcome guest. "Miss Vance, I'd appreciate it if you could show some respect to my husband." Hearing that, a glint of malice flickered in Khloe's eyes. "Your husband? Clara, you must be mistaken. Leo is my assistant at W Group." Those words shocked everyone around them. Clara Miller's long-hidden, unseen husband was Khloe Vance's assistant? Feeling the judgmental stares from the crowd, I took a deep breath. I looked at Khloe with eyes as calm as a lake. "Khloe, I've already quit. You can see my resignation letter at the office." Of course, Khloe knew I had quit. She had said that only to assert her dominance, but she didn't expect me to defy her in public, which made her angrily furrow her brows. "It's true you've quit, but don't forget your mother worked for the Vances for 30 years, and you've lived at the Vance estate for 10. Are you going to be so ungrateful?" Hearing her accusation, a different emotion appeared on my face, an ironic smile. "Khloe, you're being too dramatic. It was just a transaction. Services rendered for payment. Why talk about gratitude? Someone like you wouldn't be concerned with someone as insignificant as me." Everyone in the crowd nodded in agreement with my words. In J City, everyone knew about the relationship between Khloe and Alex. The idea that she would be interested in a lowly assistant was ridiculous. Seeing how easily I severed our ties, Khloe's expression turned even colder as she eyed Clara. "Sure, you're just a housekeeper's son. Too low for the Vances. Do you think you can climb up with the Millers? You better recognize your place." After years by Khloe's side, I had heard plenty of such sneers and was no longer reactive. I was about to respond when Clara met her gaze confidently, refusing to back down. "Climb up" should be a phrase you use for yourself, Khloe. In the miller's eyes, everyone is born equal. There's no such thing as high or low. Leo and I married because we love each other. He has no ties to the Vances anymore. Who is the guest trying to outshine the host here? Is this the Vance family etiquette? Khloe's face flushed with anger, but she was speechless. She clenched her fists so tightly that her features twisted with rage. Sensing things were getting out of hand, her friends quickly tried to pull her away. Burning with unreleased anger, she could only leave me with harsh words. "If you marry her today, don't ever step foot back into the Vance estate again." Under her furious gaze, I nodded gently, my expression faintly amused. "Don't worry, Khloe. I have no intention to." Hearing my calm response, Khloe felt a sense of futile frustration. She gave me a long, hard look, then shoved past people and briskly left. Staff hurried in to clean the overturned tables and glasses, while Clara sighed in relief. After explaining the situation to the guests and signaling for the festivities to continue, she led me backstage. With only the two of them left in the room, I looked at Clara apologetically. "I'm sorry. I didn't know she'd cause such a scene at our wedding. It's all because of me." Clara shook her head gently, her expression returning to its usual warmth. "She's from the Vance family. If she's here to stir up trouble, there's little I could do. We're married now, and we face these things together. It's over. No need for guilt or blame." Though her words were comforting, I still felt responsible for the chaos. If it weren't for me, it wouldn't have come to this. So many people saw the whole mess. Your parents must be furious. Clara handed me a cup of water, patting my shoulder as she softly reassured me. "You're still calling them uncle and aunt? My parents are reasonable and protective. They'll only be mad at the Vances, and they'll probably worry more about you. Don't overthink it. I've got this." Sipping the water, I slowly calmed down. I didn't want to trouble her with my worries, so I dropped the subject. Clara took the cup and placed it on the table, then crouched down to examine my ankle. "Did you hurt yourself when you fell? Are you sprained?" I was surprised that she'd care about such a small thing, and was momentarily stunned. Clara grabbed some tissues and gently wiped the dirt from my leg. Then she rolled up my pant leg and looked at the angry scars. Her voice was full of concern. "When did you get hurt? Was it the day we went to see that house? I heard cars over the phone. Was it a car accident?" I really wanted to deny it, but looking at her face, I didn't want to lie to her. "Yes, but it's almost healed now. It doesn't hurt at all." Seeing the forced smile on my face only made Clara feel worse. She let down my pant leg, then helped me to the sofa. After sending a few messages to her assistant, she knelt down, took off my shoes, and placed them aside. "I'll have my assistant bring over some new shoes. You just rest for now." "But the wedding banquet?" Clara gently pressed my hand, her tone soft but firm. "The wedding is just a formality. Since it's about us getting married, I just want you to be all right." I couldn't remember the last time someone cared so much about me. My nose felt tingly, and I quickly looked down, but there was just no stopping the swell of tears. After dropping Khloe off at home, her girlfriends didn't dare to linger and hurriedly made excuses to leave. With a sullen face, she went straight upstairs to my former room and coldly instructed the butler, "Clear out everything in this room and burn it. Don't leave a single thing. And if you see Leo, don't let him inside again." The butler knew she was in a bad mood, speaking timidly as he replied, "Ma'am, Leo cleared out all his things before he moved. There's nothing left in the room now. He gave me the keys and deleted his fingerprints from the system. He shouldn't be able to get in." With every word he spoke, her face darkened, making the butler's voice grow softer. Before he could finish, Khloe kicked the door open. The room was empty. Not even a stray hair was left, looking as new as the day it was built. Seeing the room like this only made Khloe's anger burn hotter. "What about his things? Did he take everything?" Some were burned, some thrown away. He dealt with all his personal items. The things from the old house are stored in the utility room. A few short sentences, and Khloe was fuming. Just as she was about to explode, her phone rang. Seeing the caller ID, she remembered standing up Alex and felt even more frustrated. But she never showed these extra emotions in front of him, so after calming her breath and mood, she answered the call. "Alex, I'm sorry, something came up and I can't make it today." Before she could finish apologizing, Alex interrupted. "It's all right, Khloe. I'm calling to tell you that you don't need to come. I'm about to catch a flight." Hearing this, Khloe felt a tightness in her chest. "A flight? Where are you going? What for?" Alex's voice carried a hint of nervousness. "Back to the States. Alan and I are back together. I'm planning to go find her. Thanks for everything recently. Let's catch up another time." His words plunged what little hope Khloe had left into complete darkness. She couldn't control her voice or volume anymore, and yelled, "Back together? What do you even see in her? I practically gave you my heart, and you'd still rather choose her over giving me a chance?" There was silence on the line for a moment before Alex's apologetic voice came through. "I'm sorry, Khloe. I can't forget her. I know you like me, but I've always seen you as a sister over the years. Liking someone can't be forced. Please forget about me." After facing rejection once more, Khloe felt heavily blocked inside, unable to utter another word. Over some static, amidst noisy airport sounds, Alex informed her he was going to board, and then the line went dead, staring at the screen slowly fading to black. A wave of unprecedented defeat washed over her. She raised her hand and hurled the phone down from the second-floor landing, then slammed her room's door shut, locking herself inside the empty space. After some scurrying footsteps outside, the world around her fell silent. She felt completely drained of energy and managed to stagger to a chair before collapsing into it. Even though everyone was gone, the room was still faintly filled with a grass-like scent. It was my usual choice of aromatherapy. The calming scent slowed her racing mind down, making her eyelids heavy. Resting against the back of the chair, Khloe drifted off to sleep. When she woke up again, it was already dark, and the room was pitch black, devoid of any light. Having emerged from her dreaming, all those tangled past memories came rushing back, leaving Khloe both exhausted and unable to escape the spirals they formed. She covered her face and instinctively called out, "Leo, turn on the lights, make some tea." But it was deathly silent around her. No one responded. Only then did she remember that I had left, too. Everyone had left, leaving her all alone. An overwhelming sense of loneliness spread inside her. She stood up, feeling her way out of the room, down to the wine cellar, and asked a staff member to fetch several boxes of wine. Through years of drinking, her tolerance had increased, but so had the toll on her stomach. After 3 or 4 bottles, a burning pain erupted in her gut. Curled up on the floor, cold sweat beaded on her brow as she let out pained groans. The maid, knowing she was ill, quickly helped her onto the sofa and rummaged frantically for medicine. But I was always the one keeping track of such things, and unable to find anything. The maid picked up the phone to call 911. "Hello, New Asia Hospital, this is..." Halfway through her plea, Khloe pushed herself up and snatched the phone, ending the call. "You're calling an ambulance for something this small? Are you trying to alert the old man?" Confronted with Khloe's intense gaze, the maid paled, shaking her head in desperation. "No, it's just... Leo was the one who organized the medicine. I can't find it, and I was worried something might happen, so I thought to call 911. Hearing my name in this painful moment only intensified Khloe's suffering. Large beads of sweat rolled off her, her face even paler than a sheet of paper. Seeing her in such a condition, the maid was at a loss, only to pick up the phone again to call me. This time, Khloe remained still. After 10 seconds of ringing, my calm voice came through the phone. "Coco, it's late. What's up?" "Leo, Khloe's having an attack. Do you know where the medicine is?" "Stomach medicine? I sent all of it to Alex last time. There's none left at the house. You should take her to the hospital." Hearing that, Coco got so anxious that tears almost came out. "Khloe, she wouldn't go to the hospital." Even though Khloe was in excruciating pain, she kept her eye on his reaction. Hearing those words, she shakily reached out her hand, signaling for the maid to pass the phone over. Coco hesitated for a few seconds, but did as she was told. As soon as Khloe got the phone to her ear, she heard my flat, detached tone. "Let her be in pain then. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up." My words stabbed Khloe in the heart like a needle. Her hand shook, and the phone fell to the floor, the screen shattering to pieces. Coco bent down to pick it up, looking at Khloe's pale face and quietly asking, "Khloe, what did Leo say?" Get out of here!" Hearing her angry, suppressed shout, Coco didn't dare to say another word and left quickly with her head lowered. As the door closed, Khloe grabbed the bottle of liquor on the table and started chugging it recklessly. One bottle after another, one case after another. She drank until she was hugging the table, throwing up uncontrollably. The nausea and the feeling of revulsion made her cry uncontrollably. By the end, she felt like she was going to throw up her whole stomach. Feeling lightheaded, about to lose consciousness, before passing out, she looked at the glaring fluorescent light above, mumbling something. How can you bear to let me hurt like this? You never used to ignore me." After hanging up Coco's call, I picked up a hairdryer, humming as I dried my wet hair. When Clara saw me smiling, she couldn't help but smile too, waddling over to hand me some ointment. I took it, glancing at the ingredients, and she fetched some cotton swabs from the cabinet before sitting beside me. "What's this for?" I asked. "Scar cream. It's quite effective." I didn't expect her to remember the scars on my legs, and it warmed my heart a bit. Clara had me roll up my pant leg, and she squeezed some ointment onto a cotton swab, gently applying it to the scars. Watching her patient, thorough movements made a flicker of emotion cross my eyes. Hesitating for a moment, I plucked up the courage to ask a question I had kept buried deep in my heart. "When I told you I wanted to marry you just to get away from the Vances, you agreed so quickly. Was it really only to repay my mother's kindness?" Clara took a brief pause, glanced up at me, and spoke softly. "A big part of it was to repay the favor, but the other part, my family was also pressuring me to get married. I thought, since we're about the same age and you don't have other family, I might as well take care of you as a way of appreciating your mom." Hearing her explanation, I showed a hint of surprise. "How did you know about my family situation?" After she finished applying the cream, Clara set down the cotton swab and handed me the hot milk she had just brought in. "After your mom left, she didn't keep in touch, so I had someone check on your family situation. Once I learned she had passed away, I thought about bringing you to the Millers to take care of you, but I secretly asked a few of the Vance's maids, and they all said Khloe was very good to you. I figured you'd probably rather stay, so I didn't want to disturb you." Looking back at the past, I couldn't help but feel a bit sentimental. 3 years ago, Khloe was indeed very kind to me, especially in those months after my mom passed. She sent people to look after me daily, fearing something would happen to me. When we had free time, she would take me out to unwind, trying all sorts of ways to cheer me up, scared I wouldn't be able to cope. Back then, I thought maybe she liked me. Coupled with the loneliness of losing a family member, I let my 7-year guard down and gave my whole heart to her. With more experiences, I matured and only then realized Khloe's concern was nothing more than sympathy and pity. Beyond that, her protection in front of others was merely an illusion. When I thought about it, what Khloe truly cared about wasn't me at all. She probably just thought that since I grew up with the Vances and had been by her side for so many years, I had become like her accessory in others' eyes. Protecting me was just her way of protecting herself. In reality, the person she cared about and held in her heart had always been Alex. To her, I was just the orphan left behind by a long-time nanny, just a small assistant by her side, just a tool to help her solve various problems at her beck and call, no different from a secretary or Coco. Thankfully, I've come to terms with it now and don't linger on it anymore. A warm, wafting heat snapped me out of my reminiscing. I took a deep breath, looked at Clara with a genuine smile, and spoke with sincere gratitude. Thank you for this huge help. Now that I'm away from the Vances, Khloe shouldn't bother me again. If you ever want a divorce, I'm ready whenever. Hearing this, Clara was startled, looking at me seriously. Marriage isn't a game. Since I agreed to marry you, I plan to spend the rest of my life with you. If you don't trust me, let's start as a couple. And when you're ready, we can be married for real. Is that okay? Before proposing marriage, I had heard a lot about Clara. Everyone said she had a gentle disposition, like a breeze in spring. Knowing she had such a kind temperament made me decide to give her a call. Once she agreed to my outrageous request and quickly sealed the deal, my perception of her changed once again. Especially after what happened today, I felt grateful to know someone like her. Hearing her speak like that now, I felt like I'd hit the jackpot. I stared blankly at her as emotions surged, with a lot to say but not knowing where to start. Seeing my dazed look, Clara found it inexplicably endearing and nudged my shoulder playfully. Don't want to be lovers? How about starting as friends then? I knew she said those words to lighten the mood, to make me smile, but my face flushed red instantly. I didn't dare meet her eyes, just looked down, tapping my fingers on the glass. Seeing my shy demeanor, Clara felt a wave of emotion. We've already got the marriage certificate. Give me a chance. Maybe our marriage isn't a mistake, but fate, she suggested. That one sentence made my ears turn beet red too. After a long pause, I nodded slightly. My movement was so minor that Clara wasn't sure of my response and asked again. My heart was pounding, and I whispered like a mosquito. Let's give it a try. Starting as lovers. The hospital's sharp disinfectant smell filled her nose as Khloe opened her eyes to see her stern father. Khloe, you got yourself into this mess over a guy. Haven't you learned your lesson? His sharp words made Khloe close her eyes again, frowning, her voice raspy. It's not for him. Not for him? Are you kidding me? Alex flew out yesterday afternoon and you ended up in the hospital by night. If you had any guts, you'd chase him down and drag him back. What are you doing to yourself? Khloe got frustrated as he continued bringing up these issues, unable to hold back her temper. He has a girlfriend now. A girlfriend? And you still treat him like a treasure? The sons of our business partners are 10 times better. Why hang yourself on this one tree? Khloe knew her father was indirectly urging her to date and marry, and she was growing more impatient. None of them compare, not even close to Leo. Both father and daughter were stunned by her outburst. Khloe was confused about why she'd compare anyone to me. Her father looked shocked. Leo? Just a housekeeper's son. Not your match. Forget about him. For some reason, Khloe felt annoyed hearing that from her father and couldn't help but retort. Maybe he's not, but I'd rather see him than those others. Her father, sensing her stubbornness, tested her. Do you really care about him? Possibly like him? Khloe's heart skipped a beat, and she froze. She turned her head to hide her expression. How could I? No way. Yet there was hesitation in her voice, and her father picked up on it right away. If you like him, keep him around for fun. His mom was a decent person, your grandma likes them. When you tire of him, don't mistreat him, but seek your mother's wisdom in marriage. You're not getting any younger, don't delay." Her father's words lingered in Khloe's mind long after he left. She stared intently at the white wall, clutching her blanket, her mind a jumble. Does she like me? No, I've always liked Alex. But if she doesn't like me, why did she get so mad yesterday hearing about my wedding? Khloe couldn't figure it out. Her thoughts raced. One minute she thought about going to America for Alex, then dismissed it. Another? She thought about calling me to come back, but couldn't swallow her pride. Next, she went with her father's idea about meeting new people, but found them all annoying. Her thoughts spiraled from initially considering me as a lover to chasing away suitors with me. The idea stuck in her mind. Khloe squinted, remembering past times. She always knew I liked her, but never called it out. She had gotten used to my presence over the years, like having a pet cat to occasionally check on. And she knew I wanted a title. But in her eyes, only Alex deserved to stand beside her. She had held that belief for years, but yesterday's news of Alex leaving again started to change it. She had waited for him since their first meeting at the age of 7, all 19 years straight. She thought her persistence would win him over, but she ended up just being a sister to him. For some average ex-girlfriend, Alex had ditched her yet again. Khloe was tired. When she hung up the phone with him, she was finally done with it, ready to let him and herself go. After making this choice, she was calmer and more decisive than she had imagined. The dramatics she'd envisioned never happened. She just went to sleep and moved on. Her drinking binge after was merely to numb the loneliness. Yes, loneliness. The once untouchable powerhouse of J City, she too felt lonely. No one knew better than Khloe about ulterior motives. Despite the crowd that followed her every step, she understood they only came for her power and money. There were few she genuinely trusted. I was one. I really liked her. I liked her for who she was, not because she was a CEO, so she kept me close, just for someone to talk to when she felt alone. But eventually, even that hope faded, leaving only her and alcohol. After her father's talk today, she realized I did hold a place in her heart. She'd rather have me next to her than anyone else. Once she confirmed this idea, she called her assistant and asked them to send a message to arrange a meeting with me. But there was nothing. A whole day passed with no reply. Growing impatient, she called, but got no answer, and then discovered she was blocked. Khloe was fuming, yet helpless. As Coco came by with dinner, Khloe recalled the call from before her hospital visit and waved her over. The day after our wedding, Clara and I visited her old family home. Though we'd briefly met her parents during the wedding, we didn't get to talk much. With the family gathered again, the mood was lively. Clara's parents chatted endlessly, pulling me into the conversation. With Clara by my side, my anxiety eased, and soon I felt at home. Living with the Vances for 10 years, I had seen plenty and was quite the smooth talker. I knew how to charm people, and it kept Clara's parents in stitches. By the time we wrapped up our day together, Clara's mom didn't want me to leave, asking me to visit more often when I had time. I promised I would and told them to take care before getting in the car. On the way back, Clara drove and asked with a smile how I was feeling. I rolled down the window, enjoying the warm evening breeze. I was no longer nervous and was completely relaxed. I had a blast chatting and eating. The only downside was that time flew by too fast. I kind of miss your parents already. Parents? Hearing Clara's confused voice, I quickly corrected myself. Mom and Dad, I really like them. You should bring me over more often. Clara laughed, her eyes crinkling up at the corners. I'm glad you enjoyed it. They really do like you, see, I wasn't kidding. I chuckled, about to reply when my phone rang. I assumed it was Khloe, ready to dismiss the call, until I saw Coco's name. So I answered. "Leo, the butler mentioned you moved out to get married. Why didn't you tell me? I got a wedding gift for you. Are you free tomorrow? Can we meet up near the Vances?" Coco was one of my few friends, and I really liked this young woman, just in her 20s, so I didn't think twice about saying yes to lunch with her. After setting a time and place, I turned to Clara to fill her in. She agreed, and even offered to drive me there. The next day I felt a bit shy about it, but eventually accepted. With the light turning red, Clara glanced over at me, a hint of playful exasperation in her eyes. "Don't worry about bothering me. We just got married and I'm on vacation. What else would I be doing but spending time with you? After your lunch, I was hoping to take you on a date, to get to know each other better." Her words put me at ease. We kept talking about our plans for the date until we reached home at 9 p.m. After freshening up, I picked up a book at my bedside and read for half an hour, waiting for Clara to join me. When she did, I put the book away, ready to sleep. The room went dark, except for a soft light by the bed. Lying side by side, we started chatting again. Clara shared stories from her childhood, making me laugh uncontrollably. I clutched my stomach, motioning for her to stop with one hand. She took my hand, pressed it under the covers, and gently wished me good night. The room gradually fell silent. Listening to the gentle breathing beside me and feeling the warmth of her hand, I felt a deep sense of peace. Remembering the joyful moments from the day and looking at her peaceful face in sleep, I felt a sense of home. For the first time in the 3 years since my mother had passed, in a new place, I found a long-lost sense of security. Arriving at the private room as planned, seeing Khloe there made me frown. I turned to leave, but she closed the door before I could. Keeping my distance, I stepped to the side, calmly watching her. "You had Coco call me. What's this about?" Khloe seemed uncomfortable with my guarded demeanor. Leaning back in her chair, arms crossed with an air of arrogance, she said, "We've known each other for 10 years. Can't we just chat?" "What do you want to talk about?" I asked. Khloe played with her glass, speaking lazily. "About how you went behind my back and got involved with Clara Miller." Her tone and attitude gave me the creeps. With determination in my voice, I replied, "After leaving my job, Khloe, I made it clear we have no more ties. I've got nothing to tell you." "Oh, what a proper cutoff," she snorted. "You think I don't know Clara's not experienced with guys? You made the first move, no wonder she couldn't resist. You've got some tricks getting her to throw a wedding for you. Think you've had enough fun?" I quietly endured her taunts, testing how far she'd go. "So what if I have or haven't?" Seeing me admit it, Khloe seemed confident, a flash of triumph in her eyes. "If you're done, come back to me. This time I'll let it slide. If not, I don't have the patience for these games. State your demands. As long as they're not outrageous, like being my lover, I can accommodate you." Still treating it like charity. I couldn't help but laugh. "Thanks for the offer, Khloe, but I'm not coming back. Not as your assistant or otherwise. I'm moving on. Farewell." Without a pause, I turned for the door. Khloe, irritated by my words and actions, stood up and smashed her glass on the floor. "Leo, don't be foolish. Clara's just playing with you. It's only a wedding. Don't think she'll really marry you. When she's bored and kicks you out, don't expect any patience from me then." I looked back, hesitated briefly, then graciously enlightened her. "Khloe, Clara and I registered our marriage a month ago. I've said it countless times. Why won't you believe it? Future matters are no concern of my former boss." Hearing the word registered, Khloe froze, disbelief washing over her. Why would she marry you?" Amid her unraveling voice, I walked away, leaving only a subdued echo in the room. Not everyone is like you, Khloe." With a thud, the door closed. Khloe stood there, her mind blank, dumbfounded. She thought our wedding was a charade, never imagining we'd registered already. Her confidence crumbled, replaced by panic. Questions and confusion spun in her mind. Unwilling to let it end, she chased after me. Outside, the private room was completely empty, not a soul in sight. Her heart skipped a beat. She quickly pressed the elevator button and hurried downstairs. After I went upstairs for the meeting, Clara waited downstairs at the cafe. She was looking at her phone, but her eyes kept watching the corridor. When she saw Khloe show up, a bad feeling crossed her mind. Khloe was looking around for something, and when she spotted Clara, she walked over in a not-so-friendly manner. "Where's Leo?" Hearing this, Clara felt uneasy. She kind of guessed what was going on, and her expression turned cold. "What's up?" "I'm looking for him. It's none of your business." Hearing this impatient tone, Clara dropped her usual gentle demeanor. "He's my husband." Those last two words deeply hurt Khloe. She glared back at Clara, full of resentment. "Clara, can't you get any other type of man? Why fight over a mere assistant with me? He can't even handle someone like the Millers. You should just let him go." Clara's eyes turned sharp, hearing Khloe's dismissive tone about me. "Right. Leo is his own person. He's not some gift to be given away, nor is he your possession. You've got no right or standing to interfere in his life. Khloe, maybe you should try focusing that arrogance on someone else. You and Leo are definitely not meant for each other." Khloe was fuming, but in a public place with lots of eyes, she had to hold it in. She clenched her fists, glared at Clara for a good long while, then stormed off. After the sports car sped away, my voice came from behind her. "What were you looking at?" Hearing my familiar voice made Clara smile gently. She turned and took my briefcase, her voice warm like a spring breeze. "Just some cats fighting earlier. I watched for a bit. I didn't think much of it, but looked outside, curiously." "Cats, huh? I thought it might have been Khloe. Did you see her?" When I mentioned the name, a barely noticeable chill crossed Clara's eyes. "No. Did you run into her?" "She had Coco call, but after a few words, I left to use the restroom. I thought maybe you two bumped into each other." Seeing my relaxed expression made Clara relax, too. She didn't want me worrying over Khloe, so she quickly changed the topic, talking about our plans for the afternoon. The two of us laughed and chatted as they left. That afternoon, we were like any normal couple, shopping, watching a movie, taking photos, going on a date. The next few days, we didn't go anywhere, staying home and planning the layout of our Crane Hill villa together. Married life was peacefully flowing along. I got used to her being around, and we chatted about anything and everything, from the past, dreams, the weather, to what to have for dinner. Day by day, we got to know each other better. Those initial feelings of awkwardness, division, politeness, and worry slowly faded away. May was the anniversary of my mom's passing. Every year on this day, I would travel back to my hometown to visit where she was buried with my dad. I used to do it alone, but this year Clara was with me. After we landed, the weather was gloomy. We first bought a big bouquet at a local flower shop, then headed to the cemetery in the cold wind. It had rained earlier, making the ground slippery. Clara held my cold hand, watching the ground carefully as we walked. We walked through the pine forest until we reached my mom's grave. The closer we got, the heavier my heart felt. I wanted to look, but I didn't want to see the tombstone, struggling internally. Looking up, I caught sight of a familiar figure. Khloe was standing nearby, holding white chrysanthemums, staring intently at me, or more accurately, at Clara's and my intertwined hands. Since my mom passed, I hadn't heard Khloe mention her once. It seemed that in her world, my mom was just a passerby, forgotten as soon as she passed, not worth remembering. So seeing her there, a word suddenly flashed in my mind. Awkward. This remote little town and the surrounding somber atmosphere felt completely out of place with the extremely self-centered air of W Group's CEO. Even the bouquet in her hands seemed mismatched. On regular occasions, I would have remained calm, bumping into her, but seeing her at my parents' burial ground, I felt she didn't have good intentions and guarded myself more. Clara frowned too, quickening her steps to stand protectively in front of me. The three of us stood facing each other at the grave, exchanging silent looks until a light drizzle began falling again. That is when Khloe spoke. "You brought her to the grave?" I didn't look at her, busy adjusting the flowers in my hand. My voice was calm. "A daughter-in-law visiting her in-law's grave. Is there something wrong with that?" "Nothing's wrong. Great, even." Khloe bit her words, visibly displeased. I didn't care about her mood, addressing her directly. "Why are you here, Khloe?" Khloe gave me a look, placed her flowers at the grave, and spoke in a low voice. "Auntie worked at my house for over 30 years. Of course, I came to visit an old friend." "Thanks." I couldn't believe someone like Khloe, who never acted without personal gain, would come to visit simply to reminisce with the deceased after 3 years. I knew she likely had another agenda and didn't want to fall into her trap. After a curt, "Thank you," I ignored her, turning with Clara toward the grave. We focused on our memorial tasks, treating her presence like thin air. At first, Khloe managed to hold back her annoyance, but when she realized we were seriously acting as if she didn't exist, it wrapped around her. She broke the sober silence aloud. "I still remember Auntie's last wish was for me to look out for you. Yet here we are, 3 years later, and you've moved on. If Auntie's looking from above, I wonder how she feels about this." After she finished speaking those loaded words, no one replied. Clara and I acted as if we hadn't heard, respectfully bowing toward the grave. Once we had cleaned the headstone and arranged the offerings, Clara helped me stand up slowly. The rain was coming down harder now, and the two of us quietly turned to make our way down the hill. Khloe was left standing there, staring at our backs, her face twisted with anger. She quickly caught up to us and grabbed my arm at the cemetery gate, her voice filled with annoyance. "You're ignoring me?" I paused, looked at her hand out of the corner of my eye, and said coldly, "Causing a scene on the anniversary of my mom's death, Khloe. You think that's fun?" Despite knowing him for years, this was the first time Khloe had heard me use her full name. Back in school, I called her Miss Vance, along with the family staff. When I became her assistant, I followed the others and called her Khloe. Both titles carried restraint and respect. This Khloe, however, was so icy it pierced her bones, making her shiver involuntarily. Clara stepped forward, brushed off Khloe's hand and pulled me close, quickly leading me to the car. The rain poured down as we drove away toward the city, the sound of a horn echoing through the air. Late autumn rain drenched Khloe's face, seeping through her collar and cuffs. She stood frozen, watching the car until it disappeared from her sight. Before long, another car pulled up, and her assistant hurried over with an umbrella to shield her. Khloe looked around, pressing her lips tightly together, and walked toward the roadside. The warm air inside the car eased the chill from her body, though the rain-soaked clothes clung uncomfortably to her skin. Her assistant offered dry clothes from the trunk, but Khloe didn't even glance at them, instructing the driver with a blank expression to head out. The car was silent, except for the sound of their breaths. As they reached the busier parts of the city, the driver cautiously asked where to next. After a long silence, with the car slowing down, Khloe finally said 2 words. "The hotel." Her two subordinates breathed a sigh of relief, and after they got her to the hotel room door, they quickly made their exit. Alone in the room, Khloe sat in her damp clothes on the sofa, tossing her jacket aside and rubbing her temples, unable to stop the chaos in her mind. Since parting at the restaurant, things hadn't been right. From her morning coffee to meeting notes and the social engagements for contracts, even arranging family dinners at the Vance mansion, no one could replace me in her life or work, no matter how many people came and went. At night, she found herself dreaming of me frequently. Sometimes it was a replay of old events, other times bizarre adventures. I was always there, silently following her, calling her Khloe. Then there were the dreams she couldn't speak of. In those, I didn't call her by her name, but with a term of endearment: wife. In these dreams, we were married. I'd warm her milk in the morning, kiss her goodbye, surprise her with gifts when she was down, share the day's news, and massage her feet after long days in heels. Waking from these dreams, Khloe would lie in bed for a long time, replaying every detail. Dreaming of me so often, she'd start to imagine her future married life. For the critical role of a husband, she envisioned various appearances and personalities, only to find they all oddly resembled me. Initially, she thought it was just withdrawal from me being gone after spending so much time together. But instead of fading, her feelings intensified. She realized she didn't want to forget me, because she couldn't. Her heart longed for me to return and remain by her side as her husband, not under the title of Clara's husband. Though Khloe now understood her feelings, she felt helpless. I was truly married to Clara, not her. Many times she'd impulsively go near the Miller's home, hoping to see me, but I was either busy or with Clara. She never found the chance to meet me alone. It wasn't until she overheard the butler mention my mom's anniversary that she felt a spark of hope. The day before, Khloe was already on a plane, arriving before me, planning things out. She assumed Clara would be tied up with a project in City C and headed to the cemetery first. But things didn't go as planned, and Clara showed up. In her frustration, Khloe angered me again, losing her chance to talk. As these thoughts swirled, Khloe unknowingly fell asleep. When she awoke, she felt feverishly hot, her throat dry and scratchy. She was weak, her mind foggy. Dazed, she managed to call her assistant, asking him to come over. Lying back in the heated room, she waited as long as she could, but eventually her strength gave out, and she fainted. The assistant rushed over and found out she had a high fever. It scared the living daylights out of him. He quickly contacted the front desk to get her to the hospital. They spent 6 hours on IV fluids, and the assistant didn't step away for a second. He watched over her without even blinking. In the middle of the night, Khloe woke up, shouting that she needed some water. The assistant hurried to get her a drink. While passing through the hallway, he heard a voice that sounded very familiar. He turned his head instinctively and spotted me. I was also waiting by someone's bedside, holding a thermometer, and it was none other than Clara on the bed. Remembering his boss's purpose for coming here, the assistant quickly fetched the water and quietly went back to the room. After Khloe drank, the assistant told her what he had seen, keeping his voice low. As soon as Khloe heard my name, she perked up and sat upright, ready to pull out her IV. The assistant quickly stopped her and asked a nurse to bring a mobile IV stand. Although Khloe's fever had dropped, she was still weak. Leaning against the wall, she slowly walked out of her room. Through a window, she saw me leaning over Clara, gently giving her medicine, and a wave of jealousy rose in her heart. Noticing that things weren't going well, the quick-witted assistant rushed out, making up an excuse. After some footsteps echoed and faded, the hallway was quiet. You could hear the sounds from the hospital room clearly. Back from the cemetery, Clara and I initially planned to head straight back to J City. But once we reached the airport, Clara started coughing. Worried about her health, I brought her to the hospital right away. After some checkups, it turned out she had a cold, but luckily no fever. The doctor prescribed some medicine and handed over a thermometer, instructing me to check her temperature every few hours. I didn't rest, keeping an eye on her and the time. Clara wouldn't rest either, holding my hand, talking non-stop with some coughing in between. "Can we go back tomorrow, please? You promised, cough, cough, to take me to see the sunset by the sea." "You're sick. How are you going to see the sunset? Let's talk about it when you're better." "No way. I already bet with Wendy. Cough, cough. If you don't go, he won't help me with the Sea City project, and our honeymoon will have to be postponed." "So, let's postpone it. I'm not in a rush." "But I am. I don't want to work. I just want to enjoy a fun trip with my husband. Cough, cough." Maybe because she was sick, Clara was being as stubborn as a kid. I looked at her helplessly, unable to convince her. I finally gave in. Okay, you rest up, and we'll see the sunset, all right? Promise you won't trick me." I tucked her in, my voice full of affection. "Nonsense. When have I ever tricked you?" "The last time you promised to kiss, but you ran away in the end?" Seeing our playful banter, Khloe felt a sting in her heart. She gripped the IV line so tightly that the medicine stopped dripping, and her blood started to flow back into the tube. It's like she couldn't feel the pain, her eyes locked on the room. This relaxed and gentle side of me, Khloe had only ever seen in her dreams. In reality, when she encountered me, I was like a block of wood. Even when my eyes looked at her with some affection, my words felt as cold and stiff as a robot. While she wallowed in jealousy, the nurse on her rounds saw the blood-filled needle, screamed, and rushed over. "Hey, let go! Doesn't that hurt?" The noise startled me inside the room. I turned my head to see Khloe outside, with an unhappy face. "What's she doing here?" I felt a flash of confusion, but I only glanced at her, then turned back to sit down, holding Clara's hand as they napped for a bit. About an hour later, I woke up, yawning, and found Clara still sleeping. I quickly tucked her back under the covers. There was no water left in the cup, so I grabbed the kettle to refill it, only to look up and see Khloe still by the window, looking even worse than before. I wasn't sure what her deal was and didn't want to bother. I pushed the door open and headed to the water room. Khloe followed me, dragging the IV stand, and called my name several times, but I ignored her. This blatant disregard ignited her anger, and she couldn't hold back anymore, raising her voice. "Leo, stop right there!" Her shout woke the nurse on duty at the front desk, and I was startled as well. Not wanting to upset her and wake the other patients, I finally stopped. "What do you want?" My cold expression contrasted sharply with the tender care I had showed just an hour earlier, making Khloe's already turbulent emotions even more sour. She couldn't hold it in anymore, and spilled her guts. "Is it real with you and Clara?" I didn't expect such a question, and was left speechless for a moment. "We're married. How could it be fake?" My words crushed Khloe's hopes, but she wasn't ready to give up. Looking at me intently, trying to catch any changes in my expression, she asked, "Do you love her?" That question seemed to hit my heart. I tilted my head, thought for a while, and nodded slowly first, then spoke with conviction. "Yeah, I like her. She's my wife. Of course I like her." Khloe went pale instantly, shocked. "You've only been married for a month." "So what? We live together every day, sleep together. Feelings can grow easily." Khloe felt like a stone was suffocating her heart. She opened her mouth but couldn't say a word. Her eyes filled with jealousy and anger. Since she wasn't speaking, I didn't want to waste time, so I turned to fill up the water and head back. Just as we were about to pass by each other, Khloe grabbed my hand, firm determination in her voice. "Get a divorce with her." Stopping me made me look at her like she'd lost her mind. Divorce? No way. She's the one for me in this life. My words were like needles, popping all of Khloe's fantasies at once. For the first time, she realized I was irreplaceable to her. Only after she lost everything did she realize her mistakes. But it was too late. Thinking about how I'd never come back to her, Khloe felt like her world was falling apart. She didn't care about her pride anymore, her eyes full of desperation. Leo, leave her and come back to me. Please! I had never seen Khloe like this. Even when Alex went abroad and she drank herself to sleep every night, she'd never looked this desperate and hopeless. After what happened yesterday, I had lost the last bit of respect and fear I had for her. I used to like her, but I never forgot my place, never dared to cross the line. I did so much for her. And even if I couldn't get her love, I had hoped she'd at least respect me. Reality hit me hard. She never cared about me, treated my true feelings like dirt, and ordered me around like a servant. If it was just about me, I could bear it because the Vances had been good to me, but causing a scene at my mom's grave was crossing a line. Even if she was just a nanny, Khloe was raised by my mom. Shouldn't she show a basic level of respect? Even if there's no real bond, the truth was she looked down on my family from the start, lacking any basic decency for the deceased. Leaving the cemetery, I felt a pang of guilt toward my mother. Before she passed, my mom had repeatedly warned me to let go of my feelings for Khloe. I not only failed to do so, but had caused my mom's spirit unrest because of my actions. It was at that moment I decided to let go of the burdens I'd carried for 10 long years. I stopped seeing Khloe as a boss, as someone untouchable. I saw her as just a regular person who's powerful, yet arrogant. So, when faced with Khloe's breakdown, I felt no fear. I raised my hand and peeled her fingers off one by one, speaking in a flat tone. It's been over between us for a long time, Khloe. You should tell that to Alex. Each word stabbed through Khloe's heart like a blade. She shook her head, her voice rasping painfully. No! I love you. Give me another chance. Please, let's get married. I'll marry you. Those were words I used to dream of hearing, but now they meant nothing to me, considering everything I'd been through. The scars, the crushed pride. I didn't think that was love. I knew what she really looked like when she loved someone, and I wouldn't fall for such lies again. So I turned around and quietly spoke my final words. Your kind of love is really disgusting. Watching my determined figure leave, Khloe felt something in her heart slipping away, never to come back. She desperately wanted to hold on to it, and hurried after me, but stumbled over a metal rack. A sharp needle pierced her weak skin as the IV fell out, blood spreading on the floor. She didn't notice, her eyes filled with pain, staring upwards, hoping I would look back. But I never did. Hearing the ruckus, a nurse rushed over and blocked her view. Defeated, Khloe lowered her head, with no strength left to stand. Voices filled her ears, but she could no longer understand what they were saying. Tears fell, one by one, into the spreading bloodstains. Returning to the ward, I found Clara awake, trying to get out of bed. Seeing her move, I strode over, put the water jug down, and pressed her back into the bed. Didn't you promise to rest? Why are you getting up again? Clara's complexion looked better, but her voice was still a bit hoarse. You were gone so long. I missed you a little. I checked my watch, realizing I'd only been gone for less than 10 minutes. Watching her eyes flash with emotion, I couldn't help but rub my forehead. You accuse me of lying, but I think you're the biggest liar. You don't miss me, you're just watching me, right? Clara covered her mouth and coughed a bit, feigning a pitiful expression. I was worried you'd get in trouble with all the noise outside. Wouldn't I be failing my duty as your wife if I didn't check? Knowing she genuinely cared for me, I gently grasped her hand and told her everything that had just happened. I went out to get water and ran into Khloe. She wanted me to divorce you. I refused. She freaked out and fell over. And to provoke her, I called her disgusting. Hearing the end of the story, Clara managed a faint smile despite her pale face. Good call. She really is disgusting. I placed the back of my hand on Clara's forehead. Seeing her smile, I couldn't resist teasing her. So, even the gentle and composed Clara curses at someone, huh? Seeing me snicker, Clara's heart stirred. She leaned her head into my chest. I'm just human. I have emotions. I can curse and do bad things too. Bad things? What bad things? I looked genuinely confused, and Clara couldn't hold back her laughter. She lifted her head, landing a kiss on my lips. My face turned bright red. I squeezed her waist with a shy voice. You're sick, and you're kissing me. If I catch it, I'm holding you accountable. The surface kiss wasn't enough. Hearing my teasing, Clara got bolder, moving even closer. Our distance narrowed further, her soft voice with warm breath brushing my ear. If you catch it, let's make the most of it with another kiss. Looking into her tender eyes, I swallowed the words of refusal. Glancing around to ensure no one was outside, I lowered my head. Okay, but then you can't say I tricked. Before I finished, her soft lips silenced me, swallowing all my words. In the merging of lips and teeth, the room was filled with an air of intimacy. I hugged her back, and Clara melted against my hot chest like spring water. All she could hear was the pounding of her heart. She couldn't see or hear anything else. The kiss was so long that I started feeling lightheaded and found it hard to breathe. My mind went blank, and I almost forgot who I was or where I was. The only thing I was sure of was how much I liked the kiss, and how much I liked the person I was kissing. After getting back to J City, Khloe shut herself in the old house, refusing to go out or see anyone. Every day she would have boxes of alcohol delivered to the room I had stayed in and drank until she was wasted. She would drink until her stomach started cramping painfully. She'd take some medicine with the alcohol and then drink more. She did this to herself for 2 weeks until her body couldn't take it anymore. She coughed up blood and ended up in the hospital. When the Vances got there, the doctor handed them her diagnosis. Seeing the words, malignant gastric perforation, Khloe's father looked extremely worried, and her mother fainted on the spot. But when Khloe woke up and learned about her condition, she showed no reaction, just lying in bed blankly, looking lifeless. The treatment process wasn't smooth either. No matter who tried to talk her into it, she wouldn't listen. She refused to take medication and sneaked out of the hospital to avoid treatment multiple times. With things like this, her condition worsened quickly. The Vances only had one child, and were so desperate for help that they prayed everywhere, but nothing worked. It wasn't until Khloe's mom overheard the secretary saying Annie's self-destructive behavior might have something to do with me that she rushed to the Millers, hoping to talk to me. But no matter how much she tried, Clara wouldn't agree to a meeting. Frustrated, she started yelling outside, got caught on camera by some reporters, and ended up on the headlines that night. Along with it, a bunch of issues within W Group got leaked. The biggest ones were about Khloe being too emotional and irresponsible. Suddenly, the Vances' reputation tanked. Reporters camped outside their house and the hospital daily, trying to dig up more news. To save what was left of their reputation and to give Khloe a better treatment environment, the Vances quickly sent her abroad for treatment. No matter the chaos outside, I didn't care at all. After getting back to J City, there were some issues with a project in C City that Clara had to handle, so our honeymoon got postponed. During this extra time, I moved to our villa on Crane Mountain and personally oversaw its renovation. When Clara came back from her trip, aiming to surprise her, I picked her up directly from the airport and drove straight to our new home. As the sun set, golden light splashed over the tulip-filled garden. The summer evening breeze moved the curtains, and the wind chimes gently sang from the eaves. Seeing the garden's new look, Clara smiled so widely her eyes formed little crescents, her face full of warmth. I led her into the villa, showing her the living room and kitchen on the first floor, and the bedroom and study on the second. Room by room, I explained all the little touches I'd added. Clara followed me, listening to my stories about the house, slowly getting to know our new home. Finally, we held hands and stepped onto the rooftop terrace, watching the rosy dusk on the horizon together. I pulled her closer, my words softly drifting in the breeze. You know, after my mom passed away, home felt really distant. Before I met you, I thought I'd spend my life alone, but after the wedding, when you fell asleep next to me, even though we weren't close then, I slept so peacefully that night. I felt at home again. Listening to my quiet confession, Clara's smile grew wider. Do you know when I realized you were my home? I tilted my head, curious. When? Clara clasped my hand, gently brushing her finger over the ring on my finger, her eyes sparkling like stars. The moment I heard your voice, the first time I saw you.